military men and women, our first responders, and all those who work daily to keep us safe and free. We ask that you heal all those that are sick and currently suffering from the COVID virus. We ask you bless them and their families. We ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of our country.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to thank everybody for coming out. Mr. Secretary, do we have a quorum?
Yes, sir.
All right. I'd like to remind everybody we have audio and video recorders in play. Please silence your cell phones. Need to approve the minutes and transcripts from our September 22nd regular board meeting, our August 29th executive meeting, and our September 27th executive meeting.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion? None noted. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Approval of membership. We have, in September, we have 311 new memberships, 302 canceled memberships, and 0 transfers. Do I hear a motion to approve? Second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? None noted. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Finance, remove review of the September 22nd or September 2020 financial statements. Has everybody had a chance to review the financials?
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? None noted. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Water and sewer adjustments for leaks related to Hurricane Sally. We have had a request from customer service, or I've had a request from customer service for several leak adjustments, and I think it would be a good idea for the board to create a policy related to this event to make it easier for staff to operate. Amber, are you on the line?
Yeah, I'm here.
Would you give us your explanation of the motion?
Well,
And your request?
normally when we receive a request for a leak, we adjust the sewer portion because it's not something that we've had to treat. But I've had several requests from customers who are water only. And so because it was newer for me, I thought it might be something that the board would want to review. We do have a solution for a once in a lifetime adjustment or forgiveness for water for customers. And I haven't reviewed the accounts to see if the ones that have requested it have used it before, if that's the way the board would like to proceed with it, or if they would like to make an exception since it was due to a hurricane where we can adjust the water and sewer portion for customers who have leaks due to that for that reason.
How many customers are we talking about that have requested an adjustment?
I currently have about maybe 15 or 16 different accounts.
Are any of them really excessive amounts of money, or are they all pretty reasonable?
Because of course, if you're on water and the bill would be much higher, so
to speak up.
She's breaking up.
Say that again, you're breaking up.
Okay, I'm sorry. For some reason, I'm having a hard time hearing on my phone. It varies. Because of course, if you have water and sewer, the bill's gonna be much higher. But they range from $150. I know I have a bill that's around $800. So I haven't looked up them all because I was waiting for a decision, as to how to proceed.
Can I assume that the bill for $800 was a bill that included sewer and that, you know, if it was a leak, it wouldn't have been water that would have been going into our sewer system anyway?
That's correct. But even when you adjust a bill like that, that's around $800, you're still going to cut through with a water bill that's probably $400 to $500.
I guess
I think that cost is relative. You know, it may be high to some, it may be low to some, but chances are it's more to the people that had damages. I would like to see, as long as staff thinks that this will work, and hopefully it won't create too much additional work. I don't think that a disaster such as a hurricane should be considered your one-time, you know, get out of jail free card. So I think this should be an exception to the rule. And I think that for anyone who has had a spike due to the leak from the Hurricane Sally, I believe we should average, look at an average for the past 12 months for their water and sewer bill and use that for their bill. And I would like to entertain a motion for that unless somebody has a better motion.
Well, and I like that, because we can easily go back and look at their average, right? I guess the question is, how do we ascertain whether or not this, are we just gonna take this at face value, or are we going to do any review?
I think that with our meters that we have, staff can look at the account.
Oh, that's true.
And they can see when the spike occurred, and go from there. If we have someone that you know, that's trying to play the system, so to speak, staff will be able to look at the data and see that.
Amber, is this something that you like, or it'd be good, or, I mean, something you can handle?
Yeah, I can handle that. Usually before I do an investment, the requirement is that a customer has their leak fixed. So I'm already checking meters to make sure that the leak has been fixed. To go back and look to see when the leak occurred, we should be able to tell whether it was hurricane related.
And final question is, should this be are we doing this just for Sally, or are we gonna make a formal policy? You wanna do it one at a time if they come up? Make it a one, as.
I'd like to do it case by case.
Okay.
Event by event.
Sally
Good
was a
with that.
great, you know, serious event.
I think that's fair.
I think that's fair.
As a tropical storm,
Yeah.
excessive rain.
Did you make a motion? or-
No, I did not. I asked for y'all to make a motion.
I will make a motion that we direct staff to analyze these bills, and if it's determined that the leak occurred during the time of Hurricane Sally, that adjustments be made to both the water and the sewer portions of the bill, and that they use their average monthly bill, average 12-month monthly bill, as their bill for this month,
Second.
for that month.
Comment? Did we
But
say
we have a
four?
motion and a second. Do we have any discussion?
Didn't we say for Hurricane Sally? I don't think that was in the motion.
Okay, yeah, I'll amend the motion that it's specifically for Hurricane Sally. I think it did say that that they analyzed
You might-
it
I
and
might-
determined it happened around the time of Hurricane Sally.
There's a motion second, is there any further discussion? Now noted, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Well field protection, land, development code change. Just an update on this, we did have a meeting, our planning and zoning board meeting. We all stayed late into the evening and gave our opinions. And then planning and zoning decided that they would table it, until they had a new county commission. I would encourage all of our members, to come to the next planning and zoning meeting in November, to voice their concerns about this. We need to protect our well field, and, this is where we all get our water from. And we cannot afford to allow this change to the land development code, in my opinion. Yes.
So, to the members and the citizens, I would state that I don't, showing up at the county commissioners thing might not be what they want to do, but they can participate by sending an email with your opinion on reducing our protections of our well field to both Mr. Ward, Son Ward. You have to look up his email, on the county website, and CC the county commissioners. They are tracking the number of emails, and I think if we get thousands of emails, over hundreds of emails in opposition, that will send a very strong statement.
Two quick comments. One, I had to leave early, so I did catch the end of the meeting, saw Mike up there in all his glory, clarified things. But I did see the vote. It was interesting that the chairperson of the board was talking about, let's roll over to the next Board of Commissioners gets voted. That kind of bothered me because it's like he didn't get the message. Okay? I mean, he used that as an excuse. Secondly, it really is a comprehensive plan change that would precede any land development code change.
Yeah.
And that really is scary. I'll just shut up that, but we need citizens, all of us need to write, our commissioners as well as, planning and zoning.
I'd like to ask, as far as going forward, we were looking at enlisting some assistance from experts in that field as far as geotechnical. I don't know what the terminology is, and I believe Basketball Donovan was suggested as a possible person to do that. Should that be something? Because Fairpoint, I think, had directed that we enlist someone to assist us with the science behind it. That's my concern.
Yes, Fairpoint did, they gave us a directive, or they didn't give us a directive. They gave, municipal engineering services a directive to use a specific, individual or firm, for it, for representation, and that, didn't work out. That firm didn't seem to be very interested. We have engaged, with, Will Dunaway to represent us on the legal aspect side of our water system. We haven't heard anything from our partners, specifically, Midway, Gulf Breeze, Fairpoint, as to how they really want to proceed. I believe this also affects, the Mar Beach water system and East Milton water system. It's my opinion that regardless of what our partners and do or request, we need to take this on as if it were our project, because it is our water. And regardless of what our neighbors do, that doesn't matter to our neighbors. So if, in my opinion, we need to leave this up, and if any of the area, water systems want to join us, that would be great. But we need to proceed to protect ourselves.
And that's my point is, I wanna make sure we got someone there speaking before the commissioners when it's on their agenda that knows the science behind why borrow pits in a well-filled area are not a good thing, you know?
Yes.
You and I can say that all day long, but, you know, you need someone that has done the studies, and I know there were studies done as part of setting up that whole welfare protection area, so, Bill wants to.
Well, I'm just gonna add some detail to what Darrell said. The person who was recommended and included in the motion that was made at the Fairpoint meeting, initially expressed interest and then failed on us. We have since, Mark, contacted the gentleman who prepared the study and analysis that was paid for by the grant that assisted the county in preparing the rule itself. That gentleman now works partially for DEP, is conflicted out, but he has recommended another geo specialist to help us. So we are talking to that gentleman right now to see if we can engage him for Fairpoint for that purpose.
Okay, Fairpoint will meet next week, and I'd just like to be armed with someone that we can have them approved to handle that.
We're strong arming them as best we can.
Thank you.
So that's it.
Blanton, you're here. Line of all water system equipment. We have two pieces of equipment, that are no longer being utilized by the company, and the money, from selling these pieces of equipment could go towards the purchase of a new piece of equipment. So I'm going to let Clinton explain the process. Well,
It's the same process.
yeah,
so
same
it's
process
together.
as we use for everything else, but go ahead.
We just got an estimated value of the two pieces of equipment. One's a mid-size track hoe and a bulldozer. And both pieces of equipment are estimated trading value of $23,000, which is where we feel like the bidding should start at for those two pieces of equipment. $23,000 each, not together.
And those two pieces of equipment would be 23,000 apiece would be $46,000 off of the price of the new piece of equipment we want to purchase from the same dealer. So,
How does the auction process or bid process on specific equipment like that work?
We haven't auctioned off that much equipment in the past. It's mainly been vehicles is what we've been auctioning off. But I guess it varies. It could be that we have a sealed bid, which is what we used to do. Used to, we didn't have a starting bid price. It was just put in a sealed bid. Somebody might get a truck for $500, but we have since fine-tuned that and tried to get a blue book value for the vehicle, and that's what the minimum price is for the vehicle. And then you can submit a sealed bid above and beyond that if you feel like it's worth the truck or whatever you're buying. We have actually had a live auctioneer here at one time and sold them that way. So it's whatever the board wishes to do or how you want to proceed.
Who would potential buyers of this be? This equipment?
Well, it's first offered to members of Pioneer Water System. If there's no interest from a member, well then
after a deadline date, it could go out to the general public to be advertised to be bought. So, anybody who wants to tractor or bulldog. Recently, the way we've done it, is we've used trade-in values, and Barbara puts an ad in the paper or local newspapers, soliciting bids, and uses the minimum bid, which is the trade-in value of the vehicle, and in this case, piece of equipment, for a specific period of time. There's sealed bids, we receive the bids, and once the bidding process or bidding time period is up, we open the bids up, and whoever's the highest bidder wins.
And you have to be a member in good standing.
And you have to be a member in good standing to bid on. Any deviation from that requires action by the board. So with our most recent vehicles that we tried to auction off, nobody bid, so we put them out again. And if nobody bids on them this next time, then we'll see where that ends up. We'll come back to the board and ask what we're gonna do. But anyway, so we would like to, I think the staff's request is to auction these, two pieces of equipment off, so we can find another piece of equipment.
So I'll make a motion that we're good with the current, auction procedure. Make a motion that we auction off the two pieces of equipment as stated following the normal auction process.
With a reserve minimum price of $22,000 for 23,000 for piece, per piece. That would be my
Second.
Motion seconds, any further discussion? I noted all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Personnel committee, Mike?
Just an update, interviews are ongoing. Hopefully we will, nothing new to report, and, hopefully we'll have, some information in a couple of weeks, definitely by the next board meeting.
We'd also like to encourage the board members to come out and meet and interview and get satisfied with the candidates. I mean, we do have them in now. Very important. You know, one last time. We have
One this Thursday afternoon.
that's right, this Thursday afternoon, 3. Very important. Golf committee, Fred?
Oh, okay. Cindy, you there?
Well, do you want to do a golf committee report? Or just skip over it? And let's move into golf?
Let's go right, yeah, let's go right to her finance.
Okay, let's do that.
You're ready to go.
Yeah, 2 items.
Just to make sure no one else has anything for our water system. Okay. So, Sandy, we'll let you take over for the club at Hidden Creek.
Okay, so I'm not sure if the slides are working, so I'm reading off of the summary of the budget to actual.
Okay.
Revenue, the course revenue for September was $80,768, with total expenses of $107,403, which results in a loss of $26,635 before depreciation. The reason we had such a big loss was, of course, Hurricane Sally. We were closed 18 days, and then we opened 1 week with only 9 holes. We still are pretty wet. One of
were there any insured losses? And I think we had asked at the last meeting if, the loss of use provision in our insurance policy might be in play here.
Yes, we cannot enact the loss of use because the clubhouse was not damaged, but we do have insurance on our Peace and Green. We have filed a claim, an adjuster has been out, and we are in the process of getting bids and prices together. And hopefully by next month, I'll be able to report the status of the insurance claim.
And Cindy, the net is included in there with the insurance claim?
We put it in with the claim. I don't know exactly where it stands in our insurance. That's what the adjuster's gonna have to tell.
That's fine. I just know some members will be interested in that net. And I just want to make sure we're following up on that net.
Yes, I have received one bid to replace it, and I did get that to the adjuster.
Thank you. I make a motion to approve the financials as presented.
Second. We have a motion and a second to approve the financial statements as presented. Is there any further discussion? None noted. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Number two, the Club at Hidden Creek purchase and sales agreement and include
Zero. Oh, no, that's what I agree. Sorry.
Two things, Mr. President. Number one, Cindy and her staff are incredible. I mean, the work that they did, he did the 9 holes. And now 18, we're realizing number 8's a par 3. It's phenomenal. So I try to compliment everybody when I've been out there, but thank you so much for the great job y'all did. We really appreciate it, both as a company and as golfers.
Okay.
Secondly, Mr. President, when we got her speaking, I'd like to drop down to number 3 and let her talk about the golf cart fleet lease, and then we'll come back to the sales agreement. Is that okay, sir? Is that not?
I am good with that, unless any other board member has a problem with it.
All right, Cindy.
They're gonna tie together anyway.
Yes, sir.
Cindy?
So I would like to request to get a new lease on our fleet of golf carts. Our current lease is up on December 1st. I have received 2 quotes. I requested 3, but I got 2 back. One from EasyGo and one from Yamaha. They're both, Yamaha is more comparable with what we have existing with this Yamaha cart. We need both the fleet and the fabric cart. And I believe you should have the quotes in front of you.
Email out.
I'm not sure they would be here. No, right now. I will go ahead and make a motion to discuss it. I'll make a motion that we go ahead and approve the agreement with the Yamaha for the fleet and for the new beverage.
Do we have anything in there for a buyout program?
Second.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
Any discussion? So do we have a buyout in that, Cindy, where if the golf course does get sold, they will terminate the lease without us having to pay the year?
I don't have the transferable.
What's required to transfer that, please? That came up in our discussion of our purchase agreement. Or sign. Do they have to apply and qualify, or, what's the procedure to sign that lease to the new owner themselves?
I believe they did say, they put it right in, that they would work with us if there was a sale of the property. And I believe they would just have to, the new owners would have to do an application and apply to assume our lease.
Okay,
But
so
I
they
think
would,
that's a fair amount.
so as long as a new owner were to qualify financially, there would be no penalty to us for assigning that lease to them.
That is the way I understand it.
in a lease agreement, there's a transfer of ownership that the lease can. But there should be something in that lease as a clause for sale of property.
Golf carts, kids. 8, and how much they normally cost? I'm pretty sure they're not gonna send us $400,000 worth of golf course.
Yeah.
5 times 8.
This is a 4-year lease, so.
Yeah.
$5,000 a month for 4 years.
Oh, okay.
$62
Okay. Then I was asking how much the golf course. But anyway.
50,000 for a nice one.
Yeah, exactly. So anyways, at the end of the day, I don't think they're gonna send us brand new golf carts for 2 months or for any months if they know that we're in the process of potentially selling the golf.
So my whole point is, do we want to be stuck with it?
They
if we
do
sell
know
it?
that we are.
Well, that's the assignability part.
Mike, that's the question. Do we want to get ourselves in a situation if we don't have it in writing? Then you get yourself in a situation, you have a 4-year lease.
We're gonna get in writing.
Should we have review the lease before it's signed?
It's actually part of the purchase and sell agreement.
Right, exactly.
Well, yeah, it's in there that they have to qualify and assume our lease for the golf
But
cart.
I'm saying, have you review the golf course lease before we enter into that 4-year commitment on it to make sure that it does have that ability to be assigned?
Okay.
Yeah, I can do that.
Everybody's seen this.
So it's 5,000 a month, 80 cars, correct?
And a beverage card.
So
Oh, yeah, the
we're-
beverage card is separate, right?
And that was, we've kind of gotten away from it.
That's 3,000, 80 times 300.
Well, if I may, Mr. President, Cindy, out of your 80 carts, what do you have? I mean, I saw one going by today being pushed. What's your inventory look like?
Yeah. Our inventory is, we're having a lot of parts that are going down due to the battery usage. Right this time, it's 25 parts down out of our 80. So that is affecting our revenue.
So the carts we have now are not on a lease program?
Yes, they
They
are.
were, at least sending, they're 4 years old.
They're still responsible to
They're
fix
breaking down.
it. Who's responsible to fix the carts when they break?
Right now, it's us, because only certain parts are still under warranty.
Average usually go for about 800 to $1,000 to replacing all of the car. My concern is this, Cindy, I believe one day I was there and you guys weren't even able to open up any more tea times because all your carts were out and they're dead. I don't know if that's a true
We
statement.
are running into those.
So we may be months down the road before we get, if we get a buyer. And, again, without a lease, I mean, we're just eating into a revenue and an enjoyment factor there for the golfers, so.
Hey, my only question, Mike, and my only thing is very simple. It's all about the math. Like, when you do the math, you got a 4-year guaranteed lease, and it's $5,000 a month. Am I correct?
Cindy, is it $5,000 a month?
It's
For how much?
52 and some change.
Per month for 80 cards, not including the beverage.
Correct,
What is the beverage card?
$279 a month.
So $5,500, give or take. Am I correct? in that math? So we're 60,
For the Yamaha, yeah, for the Yamaha.
so we're basically $66,000 a year. We sell the course in 3 months, we're responsible for 45 more months of the lease. If we don't qualify the next buyer. Doesn't say, he says, I don't want that. Who's responsible for that bill?
Well, he didn't have that option.
It's in our.
Keith's already indicated, PSA says, they have to qualify to take those cards. Any business, the worst that, But the other thing, the other point is that not only should Keith review it, I think our attorney who working at the USA should be reviewing that as well and make sure. The code that we respect.
No, ultimately, you're getting, I mean, we're getting from making a decision here. So
Okay,
Trying to make sure the changes.
Cindy, can I ask you one question? I know that when we did the original lease with Yamaha for the fleet carts, we also did the beverage cart and the utility cart through another vendor. Are we comfortable with the beverage cart and utility cart? Well, I guess just beverage cart now, through Yamaha, or was there another option that you would rather have for that particular?
Our last beverage cart did come from Yamaha,
Okay,
and this one is a stronger body, so I'm comfortable with this cart. The difference between 4 years ago and the new cart is only $200 per month
okay,
for both the fleet and the beverage cart.
that sounds good. And then the other thing, we're kind of twisting between the operational side and the sales side, and I do agree with James that we need to be wary of the potential sale of the golf cart or golf course, but we also have to think about the operational side. And it's my understanding that the batteries are going dead on the current golf cart. We don't have a warranty on the current golf carts. And with winter approaching, we could be spending a tremendous amount of money on batteries and maintenance for these parts. We don't go ahead and get a new fleet out there. Whenever we are selling, if and when the time comes to sell the golf cart or golf course, certainly anything is negotiable, whether it's in the contract or outside of the contract. But I would be willing to bet that this board certainly wouldn't allow the course to be sold without someone accepting that lease.
we're not teaching.
So,
It's going.
it's just my 2 cents.
Right, but I'm saying you can get away from a 4-year lease at $5,000. You can go to a year-to-year lease for $5,500. Pay the $500 for the year, spend $6,000, pay the extra little bit of money, and we're on year-to-year versus having to come up with $60,000 a year.
Will they even do a one-year lease?
They do options. That's option. That's a lease. That's what the programs are about.
They'll do a 1-year lease?
They'll do an addendum to that lease, telling you, hey, if you're gonna sell and you sell, we'll addend that. We'll make an amendment to that lease.
But the problem is that, I mean, we have that staff go back and find, and get us that actual agreement. Right now, the only thing we've got in front of us is 2 fleet agreements. One is a one Yamaha.
Okay, let me see if I can get this right in my head, because I'm a little confused. Are you saying that we should extend the lease on current carts, or we should get new carts?
Get a new car, go to a year-to-year lease, pay the extra $500 per month, and pay yearly.
Okay.
It's all it's gonna do. Short-term lease pays more money.
I get it, we just don't have.
Yeah, I would like to direct staff to, look into the costs of a 12-month lease on new golf carts.
Well,
I think it would be more than $500 a month, but, we could, it's a question we could ask. And then, we could have a, board action without a meeting within the next, Cindy, when should we, if we were to, agree to the terms of the lease in the next, say, week and 2 days, would we be okay, or are we pushing it right up against the limit?
We'll be pushing it up. They do ask for a 45-day prior.
So we're pushing it right now. How could, do you have a contact person you could call in the morning and find out, just ask the question, what's the shortest lease we could get a fleet for?
And what the cost of
Absolutely, I can do that.
Okay, and the cost. And if you'll do that and you'll do that and shoot it to me, if you could possibly get them to give us a 1-year lease, 2-year lease.
I will see what kind of options.
See what kind of options they'll give us, the prices of it. We'll send it out to the board first thing in the morning. And I would like to get a board action without a meeting, to approve the lease. If not, we will hold a special meeting, to approve, this.
point of order, I don't know Robert Will that well, but we have a motion.
We have a
and
motion.
We're still
discussing.
discussing.
So do we have to do another motion?
Or actually, nobody has voted on it.
We just
Well,
No, we just vote on it. We have-
I just rescinded the
Okay.
Right now,
And we're gonna have a,
another question though. Are we back to 2 people per cart? Is that
No,
required?
that's the pool people.
All right, is that required? I mean, if you have somebody old like Fred that plays and, you know, he wants his own cart, you know, can he have his own cart? Or, you know, how is that working? Because I'm wondering if 80 is enough. If you have, you know, some folks that may be health compromised or whatever, if you have enough carts for 80, if you had a number of players wanting single carts. Because COVID's not going away in here.
We don't gotta do the math, these courts, you only got 18 holes.
I'm not sure we have a facility to store more than 80 carts.
I think
We had-
the other thing right now, we're really at 55.
Well, I know,
We're really, that's, well,
but is 80 enough at our peak demand? Would we lose some rounds if you know, have individual players wanting their own cart?
I think compared
We have, most of the golfers are going to the park. There are some
Okay, I just wanted to ask that question.
So, Mr. President, so I understand our goals for this is, one, we really do need to get new cards. I mean, they are just falling apart.
Yeah.
But they've done a great job for their life. They're done.
So they're on a lease?
Yes, we were 2 leases.
Yeah, they're done, December 1st, right? So, one, the goal is to get new cards, but to also bring up, again, like Mr. Dabney said, is who will assume the lease, right? And
Yeah.
that's the other question.
We're gonna get that answer before we sign.
Thanks, sir.
So can we get a copy of the lease so that Keith can review that fairly quickly?
you can keep that.
No, we don't have a copy of, we haven't approved the lease, so we haven't entered into an agreement.
Well, but can Cindy get a copy of their lease agreement so that when we do this board
If
action?
they have a board agreement, I think a 1-year lease, could be different from a 5-year lease.
It might be, but I'd like to, let's knock that out so that we're not saying, oh, now we need to go get a copy.
Hopefully in the morning, she's gonna get us the prices. She can also get a copy of the lease.
Yeah.
Send that to Keith. We can all make
That's why I'm asking this, let's get it done.
So to clarify, tomorrow, you would expect off the city that says, for 1-year lease, it's gonna cost this much more. Also, the contracts for both those leases, you want those for the attorney to look at, is that accurate?
No.
And then, no,
In the morning, I expect Cindy to make a phone call and ask for those items.
Yeah.
And hopefully she'll get it. But once she asks for them, it won't be in her hands anymore. We'll wait until we get it. because they'll be coming third party. So I expect Cindy to get them to me as soon as she has.
You think they'll be cooperative with you, Cindy?
I will send the proposal to Steve as soon as I get it tomorrow, and I will contact my Yamaha rep, and I will request the quarterly, and then I will send it on to the board and to see as soon as I read it.
Awesome.
That sounds great.
And sorry, just one more, I hate to labor this, we're not gonna make a decision, but Cindy, and I don't have that proposal that Yamaha gave, but right underneath the quote was something like a notation from them that they would work with us during the sale, or
Yes.
maybe I'm completely off base.
You were correct. I saw that also.
Okay.
It said that they would work with us if we got a fire.
Okay.
So I think.
I would like to know
they're gonna
what that means.
Yeah, I would do.
Thank you. No.
Item two.
Item two.
Okay, I'm pleased to report, Mr. President, that we've made some progress. I'd like to make the following motion. I move that the Holly of our water system board of directors approve the purchase and sales agreement with the Club Hidden Creek, including its affluent disposal easement agreement as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
I've got a couple comments if I may.
Okay, go right ahead.
We began the process of selling the Club Hidden Creek with several specific requirements, including one, protection of our spray rights on the course. Two, the Club Hidden Creek remains a golf course. Three, the right to refuse any and all offers for the purchase of the golf course. And fourth, the right of first refusal on any future sales, I emphasize sales, of the Club Hidden Creek properties. After a thorough review of the PSA and affluent disposal easement agreement as presented, one can only conclude that all four requirements have been met. Thank you.
Any further?
And this is the proposed contract that we're going to present to potential buyers for the purchase of the golf course. We're not approving a sale.
No. Contract.
Yeah.
With disposal agreement, yes, okay. And since this is a large, it's an important item, I know we get away from it sometimes. I just kind of forget, but if anybody in the audience would like to talk on this issue, please come to the podium, state your name, home address. And give us your input.
That's my lawyer too, at least when I got a divorce.
Can you state your name and address? for the-
Yeah, my name is Dr. Richard Quincy. I live at 6814 Tidewater Drive. I am most interested in the golf course. I have a couple of questions that ran through my mind as you were discussing carts. The lease payment per month on 80 carts is how much? Did you say 5,500?
5260 for the carts, and then another 200 and some change for the beverage carts, so a total of 5500.
Okay.
The carts and the beverage carts.
And the purchase price for 80 carts would be about how much? Just out of curiosity.
$224,000.
I think it'd be a lot of money for carts. Very interesting.
But it's a 4-year, lease.
Yeah, they're doing well, because I did some calculating on my
Yes.
phone when you guys were talking. I am most interested, and I've got a friend here who's also interested in purchasing. I have fallen into a giant financial meadow muffin thanks to COVID. You've got a purchase and sale agreement, and you got an estimate price here.
That is, what we're looking for is input on the item that we're talking about now. We're also going to be discussing the invitation to negotiate in just a few moments. At which point we will also be discussing a little bit about how we go, with the invitation, to negotiate, but that's not where we're at right now.
Okay. All right, just wanted to clarify the thing on the parks. If I were to make an offer, it would be a cash offer. No financing, nothing at all, just write out a check and do the deal.
I look forward to you putting it in as soon as we've got it out.
Okay.
And I told you that we would help.
Yeah, I know, this week is getting really soon. The numbers are eye-popping.
There will
Well,
be.
we need to do this quick then, don't we?
Thank you, Darrell. I can't figure out how to spend it all, frankly, so don't worry about it.
There will be some time allotted for all interested parties to submit their purchase agreements.
Well, I'm totally on board with the idea of keeping it a golf course.
That-
Nothing.
That's part of our invitation to negotiate. We're gonna be discussing.
Maybe I can get some more time out there and improve my handicap.
That's right. They might only give you a discount if you own it.
So, is there any further discussion on this item?
Thank you for the time, Darrell.
Thank you, Mr. Clinton.
Darrell, you said you're gonna get to the process.
After we approve this part, we're gonna go to the next part.
Was it proposal just for
Yeah,
purchase and sales agreement?
the purchase and sales agreement,
And the effluent disposal.
and the purchase and sale, or the sales agreement and the effluent disposal agreement are on the table for approval at this time. So, is there any further discussion? None noted, all those in favor say of approving the sales agreement and the effluent disposal agreement, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I believe there is another motion that we made, sure.
Darrell, we received a invitation to negotiate the ITN agreement from the attorneys who drew up the purchase and sale agreement, and it spells out the process that we'll go through and requirements of purchasers and the documentation that will be required of purchasers who submit an offer. And this will basically set aside the rules of the game as far as how we're gonna do this and in fairness to everyone that might be interested in purchasing it. And the only thing that this document has is it does have where we're gonna have to insert some dates and we're gonna have to insert some terminology and all that. But it was actually more than what I was expecting that we were gonna get on this, and I like what all is in it. So I'm gonna make a motion, knowing that I'll have to revise this motion, but I'm gonna make a motion that we approve the invitation to negotiate that we received from the attorneys today.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? And I'll kick that one off because I think we do need to have although I believe the process that I would like to think will satisfy. I don't believe that there is a registration requirement in that document. I think that we should have a registration requirement. Although I do believe that we will, as we've discussed previously, we're going to post the sales agreement, the effluent disposal agreement, as well as the invitation to negotiate online on the website. There will be certain actions that are missing. So should a bidder, should someone wish to bid, they will definitely need to contact the office to receive those attachments. They will be very important to any prospective buyer.
And the process does include some preliminary due diligence for a buyer. In other words, they can set up a tour of the course. They can, we can hold whether it's via Zoom or a public meeting, an informational meeting for potential bidders. So that is part of the document, but I do agree with you that a registration requirement would be good. That way we have a list of everyone who's received a document.
Mr. President, also, I believe, and Phil, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but we also do not want to be doing this through an email.
When we were at it, obviously, you're gonna pick a high bar order to some staff member that's gonna be responsible for this process and the documents. And the way the document reads right now, it requires one copy of the submission may be made via email, which would be not secured. So you'd be putting one or more people in a position that they would have knowledge of information of someone's bid prior to a bid opening or an official deadline for that bid to be submitted. I don't think that works real good. I think all the proposals ought to be sealed and not opened until the deadline passes for any submittal of any proposal.
And I don't think that would be fair to the submitter of the proposal, nor do I think it would be fair to any employee that was given that task.
Well, my only thing on that would be is if you got, what's your first name?
Mine? They call me Doc.
Okay, Doc.
I'm an old part medic.
Okay. So just say, for instance, Doc comes in, he's bidding up against Mike. Mike comes in, he does a sealed bid, or whatever you're saying, sealed bid. Well, he puts an offer in $1 less than what Mike offers. I mean, you're gonna sell the property and sell it for the most amount of money you can get. So if Mike wants to bid $500 more than Doc, yeah, you keep it as, everything is sealed bid, you're never gonna get maximum money out of it.
We run into a problem if we start trying to auction this off or play one bidder against another. I think the sealed bid is the fairest way to go and the way to go. And part of this document says that price is not our only consideration. There are a lot of other criteria that go into that. What their plans are to do with the golf course, what their experience and background is. There's a list of selection criteria that's in
And I understand that when you're pre-qualified, when you register on that person, you're pre-qualified based on the knowledge that you've already provided to us for that agreement.
Every person is going to have to. You can't negotiate with more than one person at a time. So what would we be doing?
You're looking for the highest bid, once you get the highest bid, that bidder doesn't,
We're looking.
he doesn't qualify for what I'm saying. He doesn't qualify for what we're trying to do. Then you go to the next lowest bid.
So how are you gonna do that in those, because the only way to do that fair is to tell everybody in society that tonight we're gonna hold an open auction for golf. And once we get to the end of it, we'll do all our due diligence, which will be required, which is going to be required in this package. And then we will review what qualifications they have. Because at the end of the day, their money doesn't really, it matters, but it doesn't matter to a certain extent. We're also, we need to make sure somebody can come in and run that as a golf course, because it is important to the water system from the standpoint of we need that as our disposal location.
Well, that's what I'm asking. You've got this paperwork, you're calling the registration. But is that not what it is?
I believe the registration is just to keep track of who is offering their, who is the bidder. So that if we make changes or if we need to send out addendums, we know, in other words, we're not just offering up the contract.
So you open up the bid, okay, he comes in, Doc says he's gonna turn it into a golf course. You say you're gonna turn it into something different, but yet the registration process hasn't done anything different. You still were able to bid. Sure. But yet you're not gonna meet the criteria of the board. So why are we even gonna talk?
Well, that's our, exactly.
That's the important.
So if you've got 25 people that wanna come in here and bid on this property, bid on it, pre-qualify them, okay, say, yes, you're open to our suggestions of what Hollywood Water wants to keep this golf course.
Well,
Or if not, you don't get to bid, period.
No, we don't say that.
I see it completely different. We're laying down the law, what we want. We've said these things gotta occur, it's very specific in the PSA, in the fluid disposal agreement, and quite frankly, this rubric with respect to how we're gonna conduct this thing is absolutely.
Exactly. Why not try to get all the money you can?
Well,
Well, that was never the goal. The goal is to protect our spray rights and maintain it as a golf.
I can tell you, if you're buying a piece of property around here, and you offer $230,000 for it, and I got another buyer that comes in and says, hey, I'm gonna give you $250,000, your $230 is no longer good. And there's houses being sold every day, Mr. Miller, am I correct? Every single day, the person comes in and offers up the money that you asked for the piece of property, and another guy comes in and bids you out, am I right?
What are we talking
It's happening
about?
every day.
20 above.
Where are we at? Because
Selling it
ultimately,
for the maximum amount.
that's between the board. When we get bids, we can argue about that all we want. Right now, we're in the middle of just the process.
Everybody can put it up.
You put $1 in and whatever,
Yeah.
we open it up and go, yeah, you know.
The purchase price is one of the evaluation criteria in this document, but also experience and qualifications of the respondent. Respondents plan for the use of the course. There's a lot of criteria other than price. So if they're, 100,000 apart, and this person has run golf courses before and has, a better overall plan, I don't think it's still gonna be up to the board to make a decision on which one of them is in negotiation.
And so are you saying if there's 5 people, say 5 people that pre-qualify, what I call pre-qualify, pre-registered, and meet our criteria, are you're gonna say, okay, here's your 5 grand, here's your purchase price. How are you gonna do it? Are you gonna go based off the knowledge that person has?
We will talk about
those things. We're gonna
It's a,
those proposals as to which one we think is the best.
at the end of the day, we've tossed around, we've tossed around $2 million and less, and some people have more. I think that the current agreement doesn't have a sales price. I think that right now we haven't discussed it. I think that what we're going to get is proposals, and those proposals will, they're proposals for people to buy. In the agreement, it says that we have the ability to reject any and all proposals for any reason. And we is the board of directors. I get that. So we're going to look at the proposals and we're going to make a decision. Now, do I think that everything in all of these agreements is going to apply? No, I do not. Do I think that some of them are mandatory and we are going to stick by them? Well, maybe. I know I probably will, but I'm one board member of 7. So we all have to vote on it. And we may get 5 bids, we may get 1 bid, we may get 100 bids. We may accept all of them, we may accept none of them. But at the end of the day, whenever we do, if and when we sell this golf course, we don't want to get it back here.
But if you've got 5 people in the pot, just like an election, just like we're going through right now, those 5 people have pre-qualified for what we're asking. They've met all the criteria that Fred has written down on his pad of paper over there. They've met that criteria. Doc comes in and says, I'm gonna give you 2.1 million. I already know I'm pre-qualified. Mike comes in and goes, I'm gonna give you 2.2 million. Mike, you're already pre-qualified. Why would we go back to Doc and say, no, Doc, we're gonna sell it to you, and we're gonna give 100,000 away of the members?
There is no pre-qualification. It is simply.
We're doing a registration. That's what
We're
is
just
pre-qualified?
No, you understand, the registration is so we want it. Okay. We're of the opinion that we all think these three documents are good. We're
We
also
just
the
talked about the
realization that these three documents, there may be changes that need to be made to them. So the registration allows us to know who's bidding, and if there are any emergency changes to the documentation, we can send it out. It's not pre-qualifying. It's just saying, hey, I'm a real bidder.
The price is a consideration, but the experience of the purchaser, their qualifications in running a golf course is also
Business
important.
plan.
So we're not necessarily gonna accept the highest offer. That's the point I'm getting at. I'm like Daryl, I don't want a year from now because someone doesn't have any experience running a golf course, the thing fails and they, we have to buy it back.
Mr. President, I would like our esteemed member of this board, Mark, to amend his original motion to add the registration requirement. And then we're changing the email bidding process to a sealed bid.
I'll amend the motion to approve the document subject to the attorney adding a registration requirement to the document and changing the way that proposals are submitted from email to, they will be submitted in a sealed envelope to Pauline Water System.
Second. Call for the vote.
Keith, are we opening ourselves up to, as a board, are we opening ourselves up to any type of lawsuit coming from a particular citizen that says we're playing favoritism because they offered 2.2 million for a golf course that was valued at 2 million? They met all the criteria or whatever, anything along those lines of nature?
No, the board's decision, from what I've reviewed, as far as the contract is pretty liberal, and Holland Water System favorable. They get out, they don't have to accept anything, I'm happy, no, I mean, I think we're good to go.
And I think
I know you're good.
I think that's a good point by Keith, is this is Holly Navarro Water System favorable. I mean, good question.
Call for the vote.
Go ahead.
Before you call the vote, we have someone.
Same rule.
I'll second.
So we do have a member at the podium. Please state your name and your address.
Campbell, Brinkley Street. So, I kind of going along with Mr. Debbie, as soon as you say sealed bid, it sends out the wrong message to me. Like sealed bid so I can hook up my friend versus some other verbiage at the height. So I'm not quite understanding how that's gonna happen. Sealed bid and then the whole board breaks them out and then you rank them and stack them and set them out. Is that the process versus one or two birds pick it out of the hat? So that's just part one of my questions. I'm not quite, and I'm tracking what he's saying about the sealed bid process. I'm a little not sure. But the other thing is the due diligence of the buyer. You didn't mention anything about financials. Is that the other attachments you're talking? What about licenses and all the other chemical stuff and all that? So all that's going to be included and is in this package you're going to send out so the potential buyer can do the due diligence?
Yeah, there's a
Okay.
part of the contract includes a 90-day due diligence period. Now, the buyer can amend that to a shorter or longer period, but it's boilerplate in the purchase agreement that the buyer has a due diligence.
The other 2 points, I'm not sure why you're stuck on trying to stick a potential buyer with the Yamaha contract or that sort of thing. A severability clause for that. And then the last point, which was, you mentioned about experience in golf course. If you really want somebody that's going to keep it, has a bona fide interest in it, you might want to amend that a little bit to maybe a businessman, somebody with experience with this, selling business and that sort of thing versus running a golf course.
Again, that's only one of the criteria.
Check. I got that. But when you specifically said that, I said if you really want somebody with a local interest and skin in the game.
Mark, that doesn't state it.
It has,
It does. No, just to kind of, we do have general,
general experience and qualifications of the respondents.
That's it.
There's general requirements are in there. But basically, it's an invitation to negotiate. We're asking people for their bids, their qualifications, their financial background. What do you want to do with the golf? There's nothing set in stone that can't be changed in any of these agreements. Now, that said, you know, even though it's not set in stone, I can guarantee you that there's nobody up here that's gonna vote to change it. Could be, but there's,
So the only thing for clarification for me, when you talked about the bid process and how that's going to work, if you could expand on.
okay, we've got an invitation to negotiate that I believe within a week, we're going to post that online. We'll also post the process for give or take. You know, we haven't, we just received it today. Assuming that it passes this motion right here. We're gonna fill in all the blanks with the dates, the amounts, things like that. Then we will post it, it's my expectation that we will post it on the company's website. And ask serious bidders to contact us to get the full package. The full package will, I can't recall if the sales agreement is a 20-page document or a 30-page document. But by the time you get all the attachments to it, it's probably a 100-page document.
Where there's a bunch of exhibits.
Yeah, there's a bunch of exhibits,
Right.
financials, descriptions, everything else. So we're gonna make people ask for that side of it. That way we'll know, if you know, if Mr. Clinchy, if you ask for a package, and Mr. Clinchy asks for a package, and Doc says, hey, why don't you put this in there? And we look at it and go, you're right, we should have gave that to everybody. But if we know you're registered, then we're gonna send that to you too. So it just makes sense. But that's where we're at, just trying to get this passed so we can get it all done.
Right.
The golf
the closing date and the sealed bid and how you select.
Sealed-
Not there.
Sealed, okay, sealed bid, okay? You have to have it one way or another, either an open bid or a sealed bid. So do you want a room where everybody comes in and bids on it in one night? Or do you want a sealed bid? Now, a sealed bid does require a little bit of trust from the board. Because the board is going to put a time limit on these bids. We're gonna say, you have to have we're gonna open the bids up and we're gonna say, okay, 30 days from now on Friday at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, we're cutting the bids off. And at 5 o'clock, the board's gonna meet and open up all the bids. But it does require a little bit of trust from the public that we won't open up any of them before 5 o'clock on that day. But either way we can do it. To keep it fair for everybody.
And that's why we're changing it from a
So-
email to a sealed envelope.
The other thing you mentioned was the golf cart league. And we have one, you know, listening to Cindy and our members that, our board members that play golf, you know, we're either going to have a new lease and new golf carts, or we're gonna have a golf course without golf carts. So one or the other, but these carts aren't gonna last through the winter. So we're either gonna keep operating the course or we're not. So that's kind of where we're at.
So that'll get up. So the timeline from you put out for you release this and the bids, so we'll be able to get that to have our real estate attorney look over and go through that.
Most
Are
definitely.
you looking at 30 days, 60 days?
More than likely 30 days.
30
as we had discussed
All
earlier.
right, so thanks for your time. That's what's in the contract. 30-day due diligence.
Well, we're talking about the amount of time from the time we release the sale packet to the time that we cut off the bid. So, and that's really 30 days. I believe the due diligence of the contract might be 90. So.
state your name.
Yeah, I'm gonna be on 2842 PGA Boulevard. I was in government contracting from the private sector for a long time. What I'd recommend you consider is when you take sealed bids, it's just like a proposal. And we put a lot of proposals, and you have a provision there to offer a best and final offer to a couple of the bidders, okay, that you've down select to.
Yeah.
So that you can go and after you open the sealed bid, if you have a couple that are close or that and all meet all the requirements that you have, that you go back to them for a best and final offer.
It does have the ability to pick the best bidder, negotiate with them to a successful contract. If that one doesn't work, we go to the next best bid, negotiate. Because there may be terms that the best offer has in there that we're not agreeable to.
Yeah.
But, you know, so typically what our attorneys advised us would be the best way to handle this. Kind of going off of that, we spent a couple hours on the phone with them on Monday, you know, not a couple, 1 hour. But they went through all this with us.
But if you have a provision for best and final offer, that alleviates the possibility of a common lawsuit. But if you go back, everybody is qualified and they all meet your restrictions. You have two that are identical, you meet everything you want to do. But the prices are different. You go back to them and say, you know.
Well, we've already asked for their highest price in the offer.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
And I'll just go back to the part. I think back to what James was saying, my perfect solution would be if we could get a new fleet for 3 months. Right? But at the end of the day, we need cars. So however we can do that for the cheapest price for the next, and then hopefully be an ease of into a new owner's hands somehow.
I understand that, and I get what everybody said. The bottom line, Mike, is if you got 80 lease cars, and you got 25 that are broke down, do you honestly think Yamaha's gonna let you turn those cars in broke down? You still have the responsibility of turning those cars in working order. So those 25 cars have to be fixed. To be given back.
They're under warranty.
Then why ain't they fixed? If they're under warranty,
I
why ain't they
think
fixed?
they're working on things.
One of the
That's
two
a
things,
thing.
either you've got to turn it in
But-
working.
But yeah, we're trying to get rid of this before the end of the warranty period.
All right. So, we just had a motion for this one, right?
we had a motion, an amended motion on the invitation to negotiate agreement. And as it was written with the changes to add a registration requirement and the proposals be submitted in a sealed envelope, that was seconded, and that it does have some blanks that will need to be filled in later, but that won't change the substance of the document. Anybody have any other changes that they feel like need to be made to that? You call a vote.
Good. Noted, all those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. I'm so excited now, I don't even know where we're at.
Bill?
Bill, monthly operations report?
I think the screening's died on y'all.
It has, that's what Barbara texted me and said it was gone.
There's nothing weird that I know of in any of those staff reports in there. If anybody has any questions, feel free to catch me after the meeting. Of course, the big one's always wastewater treatment plant, related to I&I. Chris did well during the storm. The numbers are higher. I think we jumped up to like 2 million gallon average in a month. And of course, most of that occurred during a 4-day period, but he did good at the plant. So, Jacobs is underway and working. We're probably going to do a formal kickoff meeting at some point and invite the board just for PR purposes. But in the meantime, they're getting all the wheels in motion. Other than that, I think y'all pretty much covered everything tonight. Someone can think of something.
I have a question. I'm not complaining, but how in the world was I not so low with Sally? I mean,
Well, there was
for the month.
inflow. So the inflow was very high, but of course, inflow only occurs while they're standing water, during and after the storm. That's what we got most of. I'd love to say, Mark, that all the infiltration, the problems below ground have been fixed, but they haven't. We have been blessed with lack of rainfall this year in general, so the groundwater table is relatively low. And this storm just didn't raise it fast enough for us to see infiltration as part of the problem. So that's the short answer. And don't get me wrong, there have been some significant problems within the system fixed that are single point problems, but there's still a lot of work to be done.
I mean, for the month, it was less than zero.
Yes,
I know.
that is correct.
With that kind of rain event, it
We
was
still showed less go into reuse than water sold to customers, although that wouldn't have been true with that 4-day period where it changed the average from the annual average of about 1.5 to 2 million for the month. That 500,000 gallons a day times 30 days occurred over 4 days, not over 30
Right.
days.
Okay, I understand. I was expecting it to be worse.
We all were too, and we were surprised during the storm itself that the plant flow did not heat higher than it did, but we did well.
It's a problem. There any other board member that has anything for him before we move to public forum? Anybody want to come to the podium and speak for public forum?
Is that my cue?
Huh?
Is that my cue?
Yeah, if you want to get up and talk, Mike.
I don't want to. I mean, that's for sure. I'm tired of it. My name is Mike Matthews, I live at 2193 Belmont Circle. In 2018, I purchased 2 lots in Crescent Shore unrecorded subdivision. I met with Corey Snyder, told him my project. Yeah, Mike, wish more people came in here. Everything's gonna be okay. I don't know how long goes by, a few weeks probably. Next thing I know, I probably had to email Corey back and be like, hey, what's going on? A couple years ago. And Paul Snyder, or Paul Gardner at the time was like, yeah, we don't do that work. How do you not do sewer lateral work? Hauling water system doesn't do that. Okay. So we go back and forth with a few emails. Each time I'm asking to have a meeting. Never got a meeting. And ultimately, probably came in and talked to Corey, and he laid down the law. Each house gets their own lateral. Here's what you're gonna do. I'm not gonna serve you water till you're hooked, sewer's up, then I'll push you water. I'm like, oh great, this is real nice. So then I'm like, well, it's gonna cost a fortune. So I went and built another house, and then came back and had to go to work. Now it's the last lots I got. And in the meantime, I see where other builders were able to do everything that I was not allowed to do, which is 1, split laterals, 2, hook low pressure up to a gravity system. Well, I offered that to Corey. Can I just push low pressure into this lateral? Nope, can't do that. Nope, no. The methane is too great, whatever his excuse was. And yeah, just find it real convenient. And then with another meeting with Corey and Rob Williamson, that was a doozy. He liked to point out the fact that they had changed the work agreement with the community. And I asked him, or I believe in January, then I asked you guys how that was possible. Because in the bylaws, it states that you can change the work agreement, but you can't break the contract with the state. So Has anybody contacted the state to tell them that they're not providing lateral service for sewer? Because that was my question in January. And so when I came in last month, I was like, okay, 9 months, no word. You called me and said, I'm on it in January, and I haven't heard back from you not once.
Well, I asked you who was splitting the lateral, and you told me wouldn't tell me. I also asked you if you would meet with us up here, and you said you didn't want to meet with anybody. It is illegal in the state of Florida to split laterals.
I came and saw you and told you that as soon as you had a minute, that I would make myself available. That we didn't have to drop everything. And
So
just
you didn't
go
go, so you're okay with
Bill.
meeting up here with staff, with Corey and Bill and Clinton? Is that correct?
Sure, that's what,
If that's what it takes.
well, what's it?
Well, we're not allowed to split laterals.
Well,
It's illegal. If you're seeing people do illegal things in our.
I
system,
commented
I would like
to
know.
Corey that he let somebody do that. And he was like, oh, well, blah, 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 blah.
So Corey
So
Corey allowed
I have
somebody
brought
to
these
split
things up to people.
Corey allowed somebody to split a lateral.
I'm a residential builder. I don't know what he allowed to happen, but I can see it. There's no cut in the road.
Okay?
It's
We
simple.
need to know that because it's illegal under DEP regulation.
What does that have to do with my situation?
It doesn't, but it has to do with us. You're asking us to allow you to do something
I am
illegal
not.
because somebody else did something illegal.
I did not ask to do anything illegal. I'm just stating the fact that if these are the standards that we're all supposed to abide by, then why was nobody else doing any of the things that I was forced to do? Which is fine, right? That's what we're gonna do. Cool, that's what we're gonna do.
I mean,
My question with the meetings was this though, if I'm gonna pop into the main, let's work together. We got lots across the street that are gonna come online, like that would be silly not to break into the main and hook up, or can we work out some kind of deal? None of this was available. It was like, that's all you're able to do.
but the thing is we're spending, you're spending, everybody out here, we're spending their money to pop into that main for your lot.
No,
We're not?
no, because I'm saying, let's work together to come up with something. I didn't even get the choice or the opportunity to do that. There was never a meeting offered to me. The only one I got was when I finally came in here and somebody was finally talk to me.
So what? So do
But it would have been wise while I was down there to hook up those other laterals. That would have been smart.
Sir, what are you looking for? Are you looking for a monetary? Are you looking for justification? Are you looking for, what are you asking?
You know, I get asked that. I don't know. It sure costs a whole lot of money, and it obviously feels like picking winners and losers at this point, because that was very expensive, and a lot of other people did not have to do that. So, situation. I know Shaq's.
Yeah, we need some specifics on what other people, what address has a connection that is different than yours. And we can look into that and see, did that happen or not? Or, you know, without any information, we can't just say.
I believe, you know, I know that Corey is our first, you know, he's the gate into the whole thing. But that man is following the policies and the procedures, not only by the Florida statutes, but by what this board has said. So anything that, you know, he puts up as barriers or rules or whatever, we did this, the collective, as far as rules, because he follows them impeccably. But if you see,
It's pretty easy to.
But here's my thing.
It's not hard.
Here's my point on what I'm getting out of this one. If all of our water, we're all on the same side of the street here. All of us sitting up here on the same side of the street. I'm him. I built mine the correct way because I had to get county water involved. They had to inspect it, say, yep, here we go. Why did Daryl get to put his in and he didn't have to be inspected? How did he get by with why Mark Miller didn't get money, but how to keep the fact.
I think we'd all like to know the answer.
Well, there you go. That's what the man, if I'm getting what he's asking, that's what the hell he's asking.
Well, then, he needs to give us the
Yes, he needs
information.
to give us the names
He's
of the
making-
examples, so we can understand. Because you
I
can't
get
say that, it costs me too much money because
That's
he did something
what I
illegal.
understand.
Well, yes, if he did something illegal, then obviously it didn't cost him anything because he broke the law.
Well, I'm still back to what are you looking for?
You know, when Rob Williamson asked me that, and I said, you know, I would like to be compensated for the labor that it cost me, not the, as he stated in that January meeting where I asked for my impact fees to be recouped. That was not what I was saying. But I don't know. Like I said, a meeting would be nice, I guess, to talk about this. But addresses are easy. I mean, I can get in my truck and give you the addresses. That simple.
Well,
I don't say we're good with that. I mean, at the end of the day, just because you show us somebody else did something illegal, that's really not gonna save you money. We're gonna go after them. We're gonna make DEP go after
And I think for me, I'm gonna ask the question of staff, do we follow the right protocols for you? If the answer is yes, then,
And did we follow the right protocols for
No,
this
that
property across the street or wherever?
I mean, my question, everybody sitting on the board, is very simple.
yeah, each one
I
of
mean,
mine
how
has a
is
dedicated
it-
lateral to the main.
How are we allowing sewer to be connected to a house when we're not sending someone out there to inspect it? The person going out there and inspecting it should have the knowledge that, hey, where did this line come from and how did it get here?
so I guess
If
that.
you can't answer that question,
Yeah.
then we have a problem.
Which one of staff is on, say that, because I have a
Well,
feeling
that's-
our staff will go, everyone's connected. Well, I don't wanna speak for them.
I believe staff is.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Generally
I'm not
speaking,
looking to
that's
get
what
anybody in trouble. I'm not looking for him to have to disclose who he's saying is the problem. But I'm saying, as a board and as a business, if my business was hooking something up as a
Please
group,
don't go there, James, okay? I don't think you should go there
No,
in your
okay.
business. You have to stop at that point. I'm sorry, Mr. President.
But we do need to.
that's what I'm saying.
Mine are hooked up as requested. Each house has a dedicated lateral into the main. So the other part of this equation I'm stating is the fact that Paulie Navarre, as I read it, has is supposed to provide me with a lateral from the main to the property line. It's in the contract to the state that I read. When I asked for the contract, it wasn't offered.
Where's the contract that you're speaking of? 'Cause I
It
never-
used to be on you guys' whole website. I believe I have a copy at the house, but I didn't
And
come
we have
all
Bob
along.
at, so we
I'm
have.
just voicing again, the concern that I came in last month and said, it looks like another builder's about to do what I couldn't do, and sure enough, I got a picture of him with an excavator, the line sitting right there, I'm like, come on.
Okay, and you were invited last month to come and see the acting city.
I did, I went and saw him.
But I asked you if you wanted to see, if you wanted to sit down with
I
staff,
said,
and you said no.
no, come on, don't do that.
You
I
said
said
I
no.
want to meet with Corey and.
How busy? Well, yeah, I don't really have anything to say to Corey, me and him, no.
But that is our.
But you said too, I was like, yeah, let's do that, tell me when you got a minute. And I gave you my number on the piece of paper and said, let me know when you got a minute and I'll come in.
So,
I mean, no, sir, again, this is the case of he said, she said. We have a system engineer, Mr. Corey, who we rely on to make sure that all the rules and protocols are followed. And you're saying there's a discrepancy in that. Now, without you two getting together to maturely talk this out, it's still back to he said, she said. So we're only getting your side. I don't have Corey here, so we're back to this again. You'll just be back next month too. So how would you like to proceed to resolve this?
I want to see every customer treated the same. If you're saying that someone else was treated differently than you, then I think we need you to come in and say, look, this customer got something that I was not allowed to have, but give us some specifics so we can find out why
Of
that is.
course, like I said, I get my truck and go get the address. It's pretty easy though. You drive down there and you'll see a utility cut in the road or not.
Well, I'm gonna have to put that back on you to do that and come in with that information. And I'm sure staff would be welcome to meet with you, and if there was something that was done that was handled differently and there's not a reason why someone else was treated differently than you, then yeah, that's gonna come back.
All that got is,
Well, I think if you come to us with some specifics, then we will ensure that, you know, we can't undo something, but if there was something that was done that wasn't right, we can take care of that and make sure that doesn't happen again.
well, that's why I'm here and that's what I feel the board is supposed to do.
Right.
Well,
When I've gone in and talked to them.
if you'll help us, we'll be glad to take it up.
what
Mr. President, is there one of these inspections occur? Is there a record of those inspections?
Yeah, I think there is.
Okay, then we ought to be
It
able
was on mine. We
Yeah.
Can match inspections to employees and find out who did the inspection,
Absolutely.
and if they are improper, why?
Okay, very good.
Thank you, sir.
Yes. Is it on? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay. Carmen Reynolds, 9621 Sunnybrook Drive, Navarre, Florida, 32566. I believe what the gentleman before me was alluding to was the lack of standardization. And I looked at the website before I came, and there could be some other things on there that could help us find different things. For example, these are just suggestions, and I applaud all of you for your volunteer work because it's very important, critical resource again. Boil water notices. We had one this past month. Nobody knows the details of it, and those could be put on there, or you could do it at the monthly meeting. That would be very helpful, as well as sewage spills. One question that I have is when we have excessive rains, you talked about the 35 inches during Sally, do we still spray the effluent out there? And if so, why, since it's not likely to dissipate, but just stay on the surface as standing water?
Why? Because we have, 1.7 million gallons of treated effluent that comes out of the sewer treatment plant every day. It has to go somewhere.
So on top of the 35 inches of rain, there's no
There's-
fallback position on that.
There's really no.
Which is why we're going to egg level with.
Yeah,
That will give us a little relief, but right now there are times when we're at our capacity. Not all of that goes on the golf course. We have a ridge system on Rescovich property and.
Yeah, we have also system wide.
So
But,
a long-range plan to
Yeah.
rectify that. Okay.
yeah.
And I'm sorry for jumping around, the gentleman that just talked, I don't know if he's still here or not. He was on the January meeting last year, and he came to you all then, and he had not, my understanding from last meeting was he hadn't heard anything back from you all, so he came at the last meeting to find out what had happened since he brought his concerns up in January. And finally, I wanted to end with the Wellfield Protection Area. That was a great representation from the board to be there at last week's zoning meeting, to show up in force. Researching today, I came across some critical historical information about water availability in Santa Rosa County, where our county, along with neighboring counties, were designated in caution status by the Northwest Florida Water Management District due to excessive demand, use, and coastal saltwater intrusion. These would make salient points on a slideshow for whoever's going to be the focal point for the commissioners at the special rezoning meeting that they're going to chair in December. I've seen with these critical issues, the people, the pro and the con, they come with slideshows, and that's how the final war is conducted. So I just wanted to pass that on. And finally, the bar press, which for disclosure I used to work for, had a wonderful editorial recounting all that is at stake with the intrusion into the wellfield protection area in East Milton, and they gave action items at the end. So anyone who has access to that should get it around, and maybe we can make use of it for public information coming up to these next meetings, November 7th, and the special zoning board December. Thank you, gentlemen.
I would think that it was almost our representation at the planning and zoning meeting at best adequate. We had less people, as a group, everyone, we had less people speaking to the Welfare Protection Act than they had talking about it than the people who were against the homeowners association.
I know, when I got here, I was so excited.
New homeowners association that's going in on Woodbine Road. So
I saw
we
80
need
people
more
there, and I thought, wow, they're here. And then after the HOA discussion, 60 people left.
Well, the truth of the matter is, yes, the people have to be behind it, but they are going to listen to the utilities because you guys make the decisions for the adequacy and the supply of this clean water. So there were representatives, the assistant city manager for Gulf Breeze, Sheila Fitzgerald was there. I understand Midway Water System was in the room. You spoke, Mike, you spoke. I saw you there, Fred, and there was Phil spoke. He can get some sound bites out really quick, and that was very effective. People were texting me saying, he is good at the mic, good at the mic.
We'll do our best with the water system, but it certainly is good to see a lot of highly motivated citizens up there too. So
Absolutely. And
we'll get more of those next time.
And we applaud your position on maintaining the integrity of those water wells. Thank you.
Anyone else? Motion to adjourn. Second. So moved. For everyone. Right.
Yes, sir.
Good to see you. Go Ross.
Oh, I'm late for dinner.
Oh, are you? Okay, never mind.
So yeah, give me a call anytime.
Yeah.